So, I heard you're looking for a go-to source for entertainment.
Wait for it.
Gaming?
Wait for it.
Anime?
Plus Ultra!
Mr. Eric Almighty and Phil the Filipino? Yeah, they've got you covered. And all you gotta do is... wait for it. This is the Wait For It podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wait For It podcast. I am your co-host, Phil Smith, aka Phil the Filipino. And joining me as always is your other co-host, Mr. Eric Almighty. And we are here with the April edition of International Feature. And Eric, as we are continuing to roll on with these, you once again have picked this month's film, as we have gotten a good mixture of films this year between what you have picked and what I have picked, and it's been a good time. And today we are talking about an animated film that slipped under our radar. Well, I believe so. I'm not sure if you knew of this back in 2021, 2022, whatever year. What are we in now? 2024. So it's been 3 years since this film came out, and I do remember when you presented me with a couple of options as far as international features. You showed me, this trailer, and then the trailer for the film that we watched last month, which definitely you guys should check out. But Eric, we're going to be talking about Belle today, which is a 2021 anime film directed by Mamoru Hosoda. Very, very popular director. Very, very solid rogues gallery of films and highly praised films as well. So, Eric, excited to talk to you about this one here this afternoon as we are recording. There's still daylight. Their sun is still out, which is strange while we're recording. And this is well after the eclipse. So, for those of you that we're recording this on Monday afternoon, so hopefully none of you look directly into the eclipse, and you can watch this on YouTube as we have started to recommend our listeners check out. So, Eric, excited to talk about this film here today.
No, I appreciate you telling me that it's daylight out there. It is definitely, it felt different. I can't tell the difference because I did look at the solar eclipse. They said just as long as you did it for 15 seconds or less, you were good.
Who said that?
I don't remember. It was on TikTok probably. So yeah, no, I saw it. Things, there's a lot of black. There's a lot of darkness happening right now, but it does feel earlier. Maybe we should stop recording at 8 o'clock at night.
It's very concerning. Very concerning.
Yeah.
We're coming off an emotional weekend. I myself went to Spookala in Tampa, Florida, which was a whole lot of fun. I actually met some people that were in attendance at like Collective Con this year and then previous Bold Matsuris. So shout out to them. Met some of my favorite content creators in Dead Meat that allow me to watch all those kill counts that I talk to you guys about all the time. Melissa Barrera from In the Heights as well. More famously recently, Scream. A whole lot of fun. Definitely recommend as far as a convention. Shout out to our guy and photographer extraordinaire, Corey, for making the weekend fun as well. And of course, the master of ceremonies, Matt, who we have run into at previous conventions. It was a lot of fun seeing all of you there. And then, Eric, last night we had the emotions of WrestleMania. So things are running high. There's a lot going on here between us, but it's going to be a lot of fun as we get into this episode of International Feature. So I want to welcome in any brand new listeners as well as returning listeners to the series. Make sure you stick around to the very end. We'll let you know you can find other episodes of International Feature as well as the rest of our content and other content that we're putting out there. So, Eric, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this film. As mentioned, Belle came out in 2021, and I'm going to actually start using the Letterboxd descriptions because they are way more detailed than the IMDb descriptions. I should have been doing this a long time ago. Belle is the synopsis is Suzu is a 17-year-old high school student living in a rural town with her father. Wounded by the loss of her mother at a young age, Suzu one day discovers the massive online world of You and dives into this alternate reality as her avatar, Belle. Before long, all of Yu's eyes are... You is blind. Sorry, I got totally distracted. Not you. I'm gonna put that clip in.
Who are you?
You.
No, not me, you.
Yes, I am you.
Just answer the damn questions. Who are you?
I have told you.
Are you deaf?
No, you is blind.
I'm not blind, you blind.
That is what I just said.
You just said what?
I did not say what. I said you.
That's what I'm asking you.
And you is answering.
Shut up. You.
Yes?
Not you, him. What's your name?
Me.
Yes, you.
I am me. He's me. And I'm you.
And I'm about to whoop your old ass, man, because I'm sick of playing games.
We never had that issue with IMDb before. What's your problem?
You was blind, not me, him.
We can't use Letterboxd anymore. No more.
Before long, all of you's eyes are fixed on Belle when suddenly a mysterious dragon-like figure appears before her. So, Eric, the big tagline for this, and the way that you had also presented it to me as well, is that it is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, a modern retelling as well as in anime form and a totally different art style, which I guess I will start there because as with a lot of these films, even with the films that I haven't necessarily enjoyed, when we're talking about the Spirited Aways, the Boy and the Herons, we're always talking visually. These films from the East are always stunning. There is a 3D and 2D juxtaposition here when it comes to that. And I know some people aren't really fans of that, but I think it works very well here. So I do want to start there, Eric, because visually, really, really great film and a delight to look at.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And when you kind of think about how the movie opens and with the opening song and number, it's absolutely breathtaking. And it does have its own style. Phil, you just mentioned it here. For context, I did watch this the year it came out. Not exactly when it came out, but I did watch it on Max, which I believe is where it still resides today. And that movie just surprised me. I just kind of was scrolling one day. Me and my family, we wanted to watch something. This is around the time my son was watching a lot of very random anime films with me. I mean, Phil, I've got a list of them that mostly were on Netflix, but films like Bubble and Drifting Home and A Whisker Away, these are all movies. These are not absolutely critically acclaimed anime films. These aren't your Studio Ghiblis, your names, right? But they all had their distinct natures to it, and Belle seemed like it could have that. I walked away from Belle really enjoying what I watched and a little surprised at some of the things that, some of the messages it had and some of the themes it was tackling. So I'm really excited to kind of see what you thought about it in your first watch through and, what you ultimately thought by the end. This episode will be pretty spoiler free because it just came out in 2021, so only a few years ago, but we will have a clear spoiler warning when we talk about the ending. So Phil, I'll kind of throw this back to you. What did you think about the film and ultimately the story it was trying to tell?
So here's where I'm interested to see where this conversation goes because I watched Belle today, so I'm fresh off Belle within the last couple of hours, and I always want to I feel like this movie, I think the pace, it was all over the place for this film. I do want to see if maybe you meet me there. Opening scene, outstanding. Music, really, really good. There is a standout scene towards the end where the movie climaxes. That is very, very good. But the themes of the film are kind of all over the place. So, like we said, or like I mentioned, Beauty and the Beast, but, an updated in anime form is the selling point. But it's really only Beauty and the Beast for a 15-minute homage of the film. It comes and goes. And then it pivots into something very dark and serious that kind of comes out of nowhere. There is obviously a main theme going throughout the film of grief and acceptance, and I thought that was done pretty well. But again, it is trying to tackle so many different things at once. It was difficult for me to figure out what it wanted to be. Is this a love story? There's a fight scene very early on in the film as well. Visually, again, looks cool, but it's okay, which lane do I pick here? I literally visually, I'm thinking of I'm on a highway. Do I stay in the lane where I'm just coasting? Am I in the fast lane? Am I in the lane where everybody passes me? What is going on here? And I think it suffered. For me, it definitely suffered in that because of the lack of what's the word I'm looking for? Not having the one specific theme to focus on, and maybe one sub theme. That's perfectly fine. But because it's tried to tackle so much, that's where I kind of got pulled out of it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally understandable. When this movie came out, it surprised me with its themes. This isn't and I kind of mentioned it with the other films I was comparing it to. This isn't a masterpiece in any way. This isn't one of those top tier anime films, but I like that it tried to tackle a lot of those adult themes, right? And I think they did it fairly tastefully for the most part. You know, do they land in execution with everything? No. But I really like just kind of the digitalness of everything and how they did that with the, I guess you would say, social media aspect of it all. I thought that was just a really kind of starting premise. And then where they took the story, there definitely are some twists and some turns. I don't want to say never felt. I'll say for the most part, I didn't really feel like I knew exactly where the film was going. And that at least kept me interested for at least the beginning half of the movie. Once you do know where it's going, again, that's absolutely where the film has a couple critiques on my end. But yeah, I'm not too surprised to see that you thought about that. Sometimes when a story is a little bit too complicated, the thing you have to rely on is the characters. Were there any characters, Phil, that kind of stuck out to you, or any performances in general?
Suzu is an incredibly charming character. She's very sweet. You know, obviously she's going through a lot. I didn't totally buy into her as an outcast because she's very well liked. You know, it's not like people are not including her into things, but she's obviously went through something incredibly traumatic, and she's dealing with that in her own way. You know, it was very sad to see the dad trying to reach out to her, trying to find some sort of through line with her, and just being unable to do that. I'm sure a lot of parents and single parents can relate to that message. I really enjoyed the kayak kid and the girl that was like the saxophone player. Like that whole moment they have in the train station was super cute. It was kind of like, it felt like it was out of place with everything else that was going on because they are side characters, but it was a really funny moment. Did it drag on? Maybe like a little bit too long, possibly, but it was still really, really funny. So those characters, and then, I mean, again, if Suzu isn't likable from the beginning, I also liked her best friend whose name is escaping me right now. I really liked that friendship. The boy that had been like her childhood friend, I feel like maybe we could have spent a little bit more time on that relationship and less time on the relationship that seems to, again, materialize out of nowhere when we're talking about the Beast, and we'll talk about that when we discuss the ending of the film. So yeah, I thought it had really interesting characters. There was a strange portion. Oh, let me ask you this. Did you watch this in sub or dub? Is there a sub on Max, or is it just dub?
I don't know if there's a sub on Max, but the movie is sub and dub. So,
so
there is both. But I did watch it dub.
Okay, so maybe there is a disconnect here as far as culture, because there was a moment with like the choir women when they're talking about something random, like they're talking about like past loves, and the girl was like, yeah, I fell in love with an 8th grader when I was a senior in high school. And I was like, okay, I got to pump the brakes because school might be different in Tokyo, in Japan, you know, so that might be just the translation that they use. So I thought it was strange in the moment, but I was like, okay, wait a minute, there might have been something lost in the translation between the sub and the dub here. But yeah, I thought that was a little interesting as far as the choir women. I thought that was kind of strange, their inclusion in like the finale of the film, and I'm gonna save the rest of it for the ending because we got to have a discussion. But it did have solid characters for sure.
Yeah, and I think the last thing kind of, Phil, to touch on is the music. And obviously, you know, they have the big You song, which is obviously really, really popular. It's by Millennium Parade. And then obviously, and I hope I have her name up, Kylie McNeil does the English version of that, the English voice actor for our main character. I think the music, Phil, was really solid. Where did you land on that? Because for me, I felt like you're 100% spot on. Like, there are absolutely holes, and I think we're about to dive into that here in a moment when we go into spoilers for this, third act. But I definitely want to make sure that maybe we fell in line. That music was catchy. Like, for the most part, that music kind of gave it a couple extra brownie points to lift it up for me.
Yeah, music is excellent. We have found in a lot of these films, these Eastern films, that there is really, really well done music. And I think, again, that is a lot of where the Beauty and the Beast comparisons come from. I'm not the biggest fan, and I think it's funny because we're coming up on like the 6 or 7 year anniversary of the Disney bracket, and a lot of people were upset about how we felt about Beauty and the Beast. The music is always very good in Beauty and the Beast. As much as we're not the biggest fans of that story, music is always really solid and beautifully done, and it's no different here in Belle. It's definitely music that I'm going to add to my playlist if I didn't already. I think I actually looked up the music, the soundtrack, while I was watching the movie, because I was watching it on my computer here. So on my monitor, I just pulled up Spotify while I was watching the film. So yeah, music was very, very well done, and they made a good choice to put it right in the beginning, hit you with that song right from the jump, and then kind of go from there. But yeah, they also didn't. I'm kind of transitioning here because we're talking about the music and the concerts in the show. They also don't really explain the world of You that well. Like, is it just The Sims? Why are people fighting in this arena? Like, it's. I just was confused.
That fight really bothered you.
It did, because it was like, oh, Belle's about to have a concert, and then the Beast comes in and like 1v20s all these people. And then he's about to get taken down by a guy that can dox people with his wrist. Like, it was just so strange.
Phil, I feel like when I explained it's just anime Beauty and the Beast, I felt like you should have at least had an idea that of what you were getting. I feel like that at the least was what you should have gotten from that synopsis I gave you.
Was Beast like destroying people's avatars in Beauty and the Beast? It's been a while since I've seen it.
It's exactly how it went.
I don't know.
But, Phil, this movie, again, does try to tackle a lot of themes in a 2-hour runtime. I will say that 2-hour runtime is a nice space for this movie. We talk about not overstaying your welcome. This movie, I think, gets dangerously close to that. But I don't know that they necessarily hit that. Phil, this movie, though, is absolutely a hit with a lot of people, though. If you kind of had any time to look at it, I'd be curious what the Rotten Tomatoes is for this movie. But, I think it'll be interesting to see where we landed. I think we'll be fairly close with me favoring it a little bit more. How did everybody else kind of receive this film?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the reasons that I really wanted to check it out. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes, 95% tomato meter score and audience score. So it's overwhelmingly positive. I will say, like, as we have been doing this, like, I have noticed that Rotten Tomato scores and Letterboxd scores really, really different with a lot of the films that we check out, whether it's skewed one way positively or negatively, because while the Letterboxd score still solid, I wanted to look up Mamoru Hosoda's filmography, see what other movies that people really enjoy. And as far as like some of the more recent ones, I kept seeing in reviews Wolf Children pop up quite a bit, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Mirai. These are the 3 films that I saw pop up the most. Summer Wars was another one as well. Belle is the one that's rated lowest out of all of his films, and it's still a solid rating at a 3.5. So still really, really good. A lot of the user reviews that I came through, that I read through, were really, really popular. I ended up giving this a 2.5 because it is a film that I think is definitely very good, but would have benefited a lot more from a little bit more focus. But as far as and if you wanted to argue with me that it should be at least a 3, I could have that argument with you, and you would probably win. But it's just not a film that I want to revisit, and I know I really wanted to watch this like with my daughter and my sister, but I wanted to sit down and watch it first by myself. And I think maybe because of some of those inconsistencies that my daughter may not enjoy it as much, but I still gave it a 2.5 because it is a very good movie, but it's not something that I want to revisit.
That makes a ton of sense. And Phil, I think that's where this would probably be a great opportunity for us to transition to spoilers. So if you're listening to the audio version of this, I am warning you. On the video version, I am sure Phil just put some type of graphic. Probably
what's
the one
your
he
grade?
loves the most. Oh, my grade. My grade, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I thought a 3.5 is completely fair. And the reason it gets that extra little bump, because of the music. This movie's really like a 3. But a 3.5 for me, as you guys probably are going to hear repeatedly as we adjust to this new scaling, is a movie I'm willing to sit down and actually watch, even in just kind of like segments or parts. If I'm doing something and I see it on, I'm probably going to stand there for a minute, and then I'm going to take a seat, and then maybe I'll get up and I'll come back. So that's what a 3.5 is, and I think this movie sits right there. But now, this is your warning.
Get the hell out! Get out! Get out! Get out! Okay. Get out! Get out!
So you guys have been warned. You've seen the graphic, and Phil, I know you want to talk about this ending.
Yeah, so once again, we're following this, I guess, love story. I'm not really 100%. Maybe I guess it's a platonic love here, because when it shifts so abruptly into, the when we're talking about the child abuse and trying to figure out who Beast is, it is a little jarring. And obviously, we're no strangers to watching stories like that in animated form as well. And and we have been on the record of saying, sometimes animation is a really, really great way to tell those types of stories. And Eric actually, I'll talk about them here in a second, but the very dramatic tonal shift towards that was kind of confusing. And then the moment, where they're all in the, the hub where they're searching, trying to figure out who Beast is, there's, with all the characters in there, like, did that need to be a thing? Like, again, the choir women, they seem so out of place in that moment. Like, I get maybe the core friends, maybe her best friend, and then maybe the guy. I think maybe that would have made a little bit of sense, made the most sense for all of them to be there. And then they hop her solo, by herself, by the way, on this train, hundreds of miles away, it seems. It is not a short train ride for them to get there. It is quite the trip for her to take. And stops it or saves them with love. I'm not sure what's happening here. I don't remember this part of Beauty and the Beast. Again, it's been a long time since I saw it. Beauty and the Beast tells a story about Beauty and the Beast falling in love, and I don't know what's happening here, because I assume after she gets assaulted by an adult man, she just leaves. Like, they didn't come with her back to where she lives, right? Did I miss something in the end of the film? Because she just stands there, and it's obviously it's a very powerful scene. The music is it's raining. The music is crescendoing and all this stuff, and then she just goes home and she's better, which is great that she has found her voice also, as well as we talked about that moment with the concert, and she reveals herself. That's all fantastic, but then she just comes home, and I'm like, well, what about the two kids that are still living with an abusive father? What happened to them?
I think it's kind of implied. So I believe, kind of reading up some of the plot points, because I will say it's a little fuzzy from when I watched it. I do remember it kind of ending abruptly. I do remember that. So I'm glad I looked this up. The whole thing was that she was trying to get there, I guess, sooner, because like there's only a certain amount. It had already been put on the internet. So like authorities could only like react in a certain amount of time. And I think she just didn't want to wait. That was more the purpose of that, was to protect them sooner. But yeah, no, that's the part for me that didn't really land, was that they do try to explore that. And then it does feel like there's no real resolution. Like we don't really get to see or feel the resolution, I think, in the way they expected us to. There's also too many characters. You mentioned the choir women, you mentioned all the friends. At some point, whenever we were out of the world of view, I felt like less interested, because more characters there were being introduced. And I could have just done without that, I definitely could have done with just a select few characters in the real world. And, we can have all those extra ordinary characters fighting that 1v20. We can have all that in the digital world, because that's kind of a throwaway world. Everything is it isn't always what it seems. It is what it is. But in the real world, you bring in all these characters. You're supposed to take them seriously. You're supposed to like them. Not everyone comes across that way. And that love story is the weakest part, maybe, of the film when it comes to character building. So not anything that took me out of the movie, but I can absolutely see them as valid critiques.
Is it VR? Did I miss the point where, like, are they putting on a headset? Or like, because I know it's an app, but like we don't ever see that. How is he fighting? Her singing makes sense. You sing into the phone, but this guy is.
Yeah, you're just
Beast is tearing shit. The dragon is tearing shit up.
You just like
Seems like a
really
very
mad.
Seems like a really dangerous app. We have the point where the the baseball player takes off his shirt, and then we have the Karen in there as well. Again, too many characters, way too many characters. If you could have swapped out like the choir women and maybe the extra two friends that end up liking each other, because while it was again a really cute and funny moment, not really needed, and you want to insert the dad into more because he's obviously going through something as well. I came away wanting more from that relationship and how they're navigating their trauma, separate as well as separately as well as together. I think that would have made for a more interesting story.
It definitely could have. And Phil, here's your Wikipedia fact of the day. This movie apparently they had help from one of the veteran Disney animators and character designers, and essentially there was a thought of this to be a musical, but obviously that's not really within the culture of Japan to make musicals. So they still wanted music to be in the film, and that's why they got a protagonist that could sing. But yeah, the fact that it was gonna be a musical, I don't know. I felt like that maybe would have been a more interesting premise, because then they could kind of skip around some of the plot details through song. Which again is one of those things that musicals have to its advantage. Not always done well. Doesn't mean it would have been executed any better. But I do think it is, worth a thought of how that would have went. Phil, I think for the most part, a successful watch. This is something we may not watch again, but I think we both walk away saying we'd recommend it. We'd say, form your own opinion on it. And who knows, it may resonate with you more than it did with us.
Yeah, it's 100%. Worth a watch. And again, I could be argued into minimum a 3 because of the music and because of the animation. So it's just something that I probably won't revisit, but I think it would be a good watch for maybe a little bit, older kids, not so much younger kids because of some of those tones that we just discussed.
Yeah, that's specifically why I said you could probably watch it with your daughter, because when I watch it with my son, I was like,
yeah, my 16-year-old would be fine. But
she got slapped. I looked over. I was like,
right.
Well, here we are. I didn't.
Yeah.
Where's the singing?
Right. Yeah. Where's Beast? Where's the dancing that happens in Beauty and the Beast? So, but yeah, that's we definitely want to hear what you guys thought. And Eric, as we as you've talked about, since you mentioned, we have been doing movies that, as far as we have seen, not necessarily both have seen more recently. A perfect movie for this, maybe even next month, I'm gonna throw this out live on this episode, is Wolfwalkers, because it is based off Irish folklore, and I think that is an animated film again that your son and your wife are really gonna love, and you've been wanting to watch it anyway, as it's a film that I have covered on Netflix and Phil previously a long time ago, but I would love to revisit it for international feature.
There we go. Okay. I know one of the reasons I wanted to do this movie was because, we definitely still want to have that kind of anime focus on Late to the Party, international feature, wherever we can. You came up, well, maybe not a full anime. You did Blue Eye Samurai earlier this year. So Belle was perfect. For Wolfwalkers, we don't have anything slotted. I was actually going to say I'm still looking into a couple of options. So if we want to commit to that now, I know we're trying to be a little bit better about that at the end of each episode, telling you what's coming for next month. That is a goal by the end of this year we'd like to consistently do. So Phil, if you're good with that, I am happy to give that a watch. Obviously, looks like we're going to be in the land of the Irish here. So I like it.
Yeah, really, really great film. So, you guys can look forward to that. But Eric, anything else you want to mention about Belle while we as we wrap up this episode?
No, I would just say that, this movie is absolutely, again, worth a watch. 2 hours. Doesn't overstay its welcome. It's got great music you'll walk away and add to your playlist, including, this will probably be on the Wait For It playlist, because that is on Spotify. We update it every week, and that's how you'll know if something is catchy. So I'm sure there'll be a little bit of that here. But Phil, no, we can kind of wrap this up. I think we have had our fill of Belle.
Yeah, and also I would be interested to maybe check out more of Mamoru Hosoda's work, since it was very heavily regarded within some of the reviews that I read on Letterboxd. He also has directed a few of the Digimon movies, and I think the original Digimon movie, which is very, very popular. So keep an eye out for those, possibly from us in the future. But folks, thank you so much for joining us for the April edition of International Feature. If you like what you heard, and maybe you heard it for the first time, make sure you click the Linktree link in the show notes of this episode. You'll find our entire library, all the rest of episodes of International Feature, and everything else we do here at the Wait For It podcast. You'll also find our social media pages, the most important ones to keep up with being Instagram, TikTok, as well as our Discord page. And if you want to support the show, you can do a couple things. You can head on over to your favorite podcast streaming app and leave us a 5-star review. Those help tremendously as far as the algorithm. It gets more eyes on the podcast and is very much appreciated. You can also share the content, tag us, let people know that you're listening, and let us know that you are listening. Those are all always very, very appreciated. And if you want to maybe go the extra mile in supporting the Wait For It podcast, Eric will let you know how you can do that.
So, of course, you can join all of the free platforms like Discord, where we have a growing community on that platform. Or if you're willing to go the extra mile and you'd like to financially assist us, you can go directly to our Buzzsprout page, or you can take those funds and move them over to Patreon, where patrons like Stefan and Breyer are helping to support the show. And in exchange, they're getting early access and behind the scenes to episodes like this one. Otherwise, though, we appreciate the likes, the shares, the comments, the engagements, the listens. Literally just listening. We appreciate you just even checking us out. My name is Mr. Eric Almighty. That is my co-host, Phil the Filipino. And please don't forget, we release new episodes every Wednesday with bonus content on platforms like TikTok. And all you got to do is wait for it.
So, I heard you're looking for a go-to source for entertainment. Wait for it? Gaming? Wait for it? Anime?
Plus Ultra!
Mr. Eric Almighty and Phil the Filipino? Yeah, they've got you covered. And all you gotta do is wait for it. This is the Wait For It podcast.